That is how I feel, Cash.
That's
yeah.
Ooh, man, I'm trying not to cuss. I'm trying.
I've been called white supremacist many times.
That's very difficult to be called white supremacist. Ladies and gentlemen, we are live. What's happening, everybody? We've got the dark-skinned white supremacist below me. That's crazy. We've got a great show. Go ahead and like this video, share this video, do all the things with said video. Emily, we got a special guest. Before we get started, I want you
I'm not special, bro. I'm here every week, bro.
No, you're special. Just
no, you wear a helmet.
You're on a shorter spanned bus. You went to, you know what? You graduated from Trump University without actually getting any money back. That's what happened. Oh. Cash, before we introduce Emily, can you show your shirt to everybody that Casey bought for you?
No.
Show it. Show it. Clause, cat lovers against white supremacy, which, you know what? It's a true statement. I don't know what Pantsuit Nation page that Casey.
Well, everybody knows that I love cats, and I'm definitely against white supremacy. So, you
love cats? Is that the thing you love? Okay.
Well, now just a cat.
Right. Anyways, technically, you're first on YouTube. You are not first across the board. Dawn was the first one here. Okay, what's going on, Sarah? Again, start putting comments in the chat box. We're growing in the crowd. Doing pretty good. All right, we're good to go. Did you start it on Pilled and on Rumble, Casey?
Oh, you put it on Pilled. Did you create a post on Pilled?
No.
We know the rules, Casey, that it's on Tuesday night. We do it also on Cash's Pilled.
Right. Mm-hmm. Someone's got to schedule it on Pilled.
Russo, how many times do we got to tell you this, bro? How many times do we have to tell you this? You don't listen.
I have zero access to your Pilled.
You're still, never mind. I'm not even going to say that.
I have zero access to your Pilled. Anyways, ladies and gents.
I'm going to give you the password for Pilled. Go on there and schedule it for Tuesdays, okay?
Well, it's too late now, so we'll just keep it on the Rumble. I love Casey's face right now. Rocking the Pure Blood hat, by the way, which you can find at awakenotwokestore.com. I'm stalling while people are hop on. All right, Emily, it's about that time. Emily is a friend of Kelly's. Emily and I also connected because I think at a barrel race when I announced it, I was the first one that knew how to pronounce her last name because
first and only
Mangione, because I think we're the only two guineas in all of this part of the area of Texas, and in the barrel racing world, I don't see a lot of Italians, see a lot of waspy type white Anglo-Saxons. What's that?
I thought you was a Jew.
I am. I'm a Jew up.
He's Kamala Harris. It's whatever he wants to.
Whatever.
He's just like I get it. You're just whatever you want to be. You're identifying as a guinea because you got Emily on here. I got you.
Hey, paisan. No, it's. I'm a Jew up. I my dad is Italian. My mother is Jewish. And I am whatever fits. If we're talking about Israel, I am Jewish. If we're talking about anything else, I'm Italian.
Gotcha.
Like tipping. Talk tipping, I'm Italian. We talk about paying for parking, I'm Jewish. Okay, so Emily.
I heard that's all you could do was tip.
Cash is just mad because he can't go on all the rides at Six Flags because he's not 5'8". Emily, go ahead. See, Emily was worried about being too. If this was going to be too serious, I think we just figured out that it is not. All right, Emily, the floor is yours. Introduce yourself to everybody a little bit about who you are, your beliefs. Have the floor is yours for a bit.
All right, so my name's Emily Mangione. I'm 26 years old, and I technically last name's Italian, but I was adopted. So my birth parents were immigrants from Pakistan. So I'm a first generation daughter of immigrants, and grew up in California. Lived there till I was 17 for obvious reasons. I'm now in Texas. I kind of went back and forth with being interested in politics. I was interested in politics growing up just because of my parents. And when I got into college, I kind of just started trying to disconnect a little bit. I've never voted in a presidential election.
Really?
Yes, I could have voted in 2016 and 2020, but the reason I didn't, I was still registered to vote in California. So I just kind of lagged on getting my driver's license in Texas. I went twice. They were like, you don't have enough, however many paperwork they make you bring in. So this will be my first presidential election. If I did vote, I would have voted for Trump both times. And now I'm damn sure not missing a vote this time. So
I think Texas isn't more important than people realize. I mean, Texas is not as red as people think when you've got all the illegal immigrants. And you and I both know we know people with farms down south. It's a serious situation.
Yeah.
The other reason I brought Emily on is she's been on a whole world travel situation. Kelly wonders, she's like, how did Emily get to do this? I go, it's because she stopped riding horses. Just throwing that out there. It's amazing how much the finances change. But yeah, so she's been traveling all over the world and she's been around a lot of anti-Trump people, but also, I don't know, she's going to tell us what the rest of the world thinks of America and our current political situation. We'll get into that in a second, though. Cash, what's new with you? Tell everybody that if they weren't watching last night, tell everybody about the backpacks.
Oh yeah, we gave away 144 backpacks to kids in the 219 area. It was dope. And that was because of all of you all that donated. Again, I want to say thank you to everybody that donated. Dawn and Dan, thank you very much. Casey, appreciate you for the ordering stuff. And Pastor Burgos. Used to be Officer Burgos, but Pastor Burgos, appreciate you, man, and the whole church family. You guys are dope. Yeah, it was awesome. It was dope, man.
You can go by Sergeant, Officer, Pastor. He can add a title, and then he'd be
sergeant. That's real.
Yeah. You just he can make up how high of a level he was, and he can run for vice president. I feel like
what is his name? Walz?
Well, yeah, exactly.
Hey, I gotta just point this out. I talked about it a little before we got on, but I gotta say, Tim Walz, he shocked me. He had a very classy response, bro. Very classy, and he earned some points. Even though I'm voting Trump, no matter what, he earned some points with me because that was a classy response that I would not have expected from a liberal politician.
What are you talking about?
He was talking about how everybody's talking about his service record, and he said that he is very proud of his service record, no matter what nobody else wants to say. And he signed up after he was 17 years, 2 days after his 17th birthday. And so all his men and the men and women, his brothers and sisters that put on a uniform, you know, he did it like the rest of them because he loves his country. And to his political opponent, who also wore the uniform, he just wanted to say, thank you for your service. That was, bro, I was class. I was like, dang, I had to like it. I even liked it. I'm like, that was very classic. That was
because he knows he's in the wrong, and that's what his script writers told him to say. Like, you're not, none of us are in the military, but I can tell you that 95% of the people in the military that have been talking about this on the internet will tell you that there is nothing worse than lying about your rank or stolen valor. And the fact is, he's lying about when they found out his platoon was deploying. Everybody said that he knew, and everybody in that platoon knew about 6 months before he quit. So he may have had a great response to that, but that's because there is no good way to respond at this point.
Right. And it also wearing apparel like a green beret. He wore a green beret hat for a very long time and didn't address any of it. He's not a Green Beret. He's National Guard. You don't do that. No one in the military does that.
I applaud his service. It's more than I do. Yeah, he was National Guard.
He was National Guard.
Yeah. Anyways, we'll let that.
And how was he going to get deployed?
Because during the Afghani war, or sorry, during 9/11, they were calling everybody and their mother out to find the WMDs that were never there, because George Bush was also a piece of shit. Moving on. Where are we going to start? By the way, Emily, you even got a little. Hold on, I got to show you what you got on the top right. Special guests.
I saw that. I feel very special.
There you go. There you
go. Hey, you can spell your name right. He spelled mine wrong for like 12 months.
You didn't even notice it for like 12 months.
Why should I have to double check it?
Because you have a weird ass last name. Okay. So that's the start to the show, everybody. We got about 125 people watching, as opposed to last night. We had 5,000 because everybody wanted to know about the Elon.
Yo, Trump. You got to show everybody my poll, bro.
Cash. It's a family show.
No, right. Fool. The poll, not my poll. That wouldn't fit on camera. I'm talking about the poll that I took for X, bro. You got to show it. It is crazy because it ain't even been 24 hours yet.
Casey, can you bring it up? Can you find it?
Yeah.
Casey's our tech wizard. Terry said, "Hi, Emily."
You know, while we're on the topic of Tim Walz, I just have to say I find it so ironic that he served in the National Guard and apparently did not want to have the National Guard come in when his cities were burning to the ground.
It's ironic.
It's a little ironic, but
yeah, I agree. Yep. So you guys see that right there? 98.9% for Trump, Kamala 1.1% out of 5,095 people in less than 24 hours, y'all. We put that poll up, right? And it's funny because what is it, Rasmussen?
Yeah, I'm actually looking to see how much, like, because most of those polls, I always say they're
like
about
2,000 people.
Yeah,
and this one is with 5,000. And look at that. And I got liberals and MAGA on my ex.
But you do have a higher portion of conservatives,
Yeah,
so I think that's worth noting.
It favors a little bit more to the Trump side, but it doesn't change the topic. Like what we showed last night, the Krasensteins, when they do their polls, it's 70 to 80% is for Trump, and they are dominant for a following from the left.
But look right there at that Explorer, right there in the right corner. Harris closes gap with Trump in polls. It's the same thing that they did in 2016 with, oh, Clinton, she's winning all the polls. It's just like,
well, we
can you just inspired my next video, Emily. That's going to be my next video right there.
So right here is exactly why. So Harris is actually going and putting Harris campaign is taking out ads, changing headlines, taking headlines and saying it's pro Kamala Harris and putting that as an ad on Google. So then those show up as search results instead of the news headlines. And so it is actually showing that news headlines are pro Kamala Harris.
I'm trying to find the exact number because I've done this before, but it's between 1,300 and 1,900 people that are polled in these polls. They have a very specific formula how they find it. But all I have to say is based on what I'm seeing, like people wonder why we don't trust the election process anymore. Fact is, every unbiased or every non-media poll is showing a drastic right lean right now and showing that Trump is winning, not by 5 percentage points, not by 10, but by a drastic number, 30%, 40%. And that's not just on X, which people go, well, X is now only a conservative platform. First off, it's not. Second, we saw the Dane Cook poll. You see all these different polls that are on TikTok and different places, and it's leaning heavily conservative, heavily Trump. So the question is, where in the baker's F are they coming up with these numbers that are showing Harris not just tied, but in a lead? It's very odd to me that it's being manipulated. And why would I feel like it's being manipulated? Because it's setting us up for well, you can't be too disappointed in November. We showed you that the polls were leaning this way, when in all reality, anything that is at a much larger sample size is leaning heavily the opposite direction. I think it's very difficult to believe. And I think that it's setting us up for the disappointment that we believe. Real quick, guys, there's a decent amount of people watching and we have 5 reactions. So I need you guys to hit the like, share. You don't have to hit the share button. Hit the like, hit the heart.
Oh, hit the share button too. Hit the share. Don't listen to Russo. Hit the share, hit the like. Do it all, please. We love you. I love you. Do it for me, not Russo. I know most of you don't like Russo. I get it. We don't like him either. You love me. So please hit that like and share button.
It's equal opportunity love because, well, you're black. So there's that.
Hey, Russo, before we get the thing rolling, have I ever told you who you remind me of? What I tell people?
I mean,
I got my own personal Ryan Reynolds, bro. You remind me of a nicer Ryan Reynolds.
What's funny is I was gonna guess Ryan Reynolds.
No lie. I got my own personal Deadpool, bro. But you're nice pool. Did you see the Wolverine movie? The
I haven't
Deadpool
yet. I really
Wolverine?
want to
Oh
watch
my god, bro, you gotta watch it. You're nice pool.
When I was younger and thinner, I got Ryan Reynolds quite a bit, actually. Funny enough.
Yeah.
So, yeah, got to drop a few lbs, and it's also this way because the mustache is gone. Which, go ahead and put in the comments because I feel weird without a mustache.
You're weird without it.
You like it? You like it with or without?
With it, you're weird without a mustache or a full beard.
So wait, say it again. Full beard or mustache?
Either one is normal to me. When you're just like a 5 o'clock shadow, like what you got, it's weird to me.
I have no upper lip.
Why don't you just, bro? You need to come out here, bro. You need to come to the hood real quick so you can grow it out, and then I'll take you and get you lined up, bro. You don't get why don't a lot of suburban white guys get lined up? I don't understand that. Y'all just grow the beard and it's just scruffy.
Pierre lines me up.
trimmed and get it nice. No, I mean
When
by
I used
a real hood barber, bro. Get you like the whole.
My guy Pierre used to do it, but he lives in Dallas. I live in Stephenville, Texas. They don't know what lining up is unless there's a bunch of cattle.
Yeah.
Yeah, because we don't care.
I had Pierre do it.
Did you see what Kelly said, Cash?
Yeah.
What'd you say?
Yeah, why didn't
It's the profile. Your upper lip is gone. Oh, why don't you get thinner again? To me?
No, to me.
I'm about to
Because
say I
was
am
thinner.
fit, bro. I got a body like an Egyptian god right now. What do you mean?
That's accurate because back then they were much shorter than they are today. We've evolved.
All right, yeah.
Well, I'm getting a lot of just the mustache, so I think that. Oh, Kim, thank you, Kim. What was that? Did you just do confirmed speakers?
No, yeah, it was that one.
Oh, Kelly's throwing game in there. I think.
Kelly, I love you, Kelly. I do. You're all right with me, Kelly. I told you I'm Team Kelly from now on, bro. Ever since you did that to me, yeah, it's Team Kelly.
Did what to you?
Oh, now you forget. You're so forgetful. So forgetful.
Can we talk about real
I'm not
topics?
even bringing it up. Yeah, come on. Let's get on board here. Let's go.
All right. Is Kelly also texting me? No. Okay. All right. So let's talk about the Elon. You know what? This is what I want to know first, Emily. Before we get into the Elon and Trump situation, where are all the places you've been in the last several months? I mean, you've been traveling for over almost a year and a half at this point.
Yeah, it's coming up on 2 years. So just this year, I started off in Russia. That's my fifth time visiting Russia. So I've spent actually the most amount of time abroad in Russia, about 4 months altogether there. So started in Russia, then went to Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, back to Russia, came home for about a month, and then went to Turkey, China, Hong Kong. I guess we can't really consider that a separate. I was still under the impression it was independent until 2050, but you visit there, and China was celebrating their 27th reunion of Hong Kong and China. So they consider it mainland China now. Then Taiwan, which that was also interesting. South Korea. I went to the DMZ. It was just the closest I can get to North Korea, and then finished it out in Japan. So that's what I did this year, but I'm at about 34 countries now.
Jeez, that's
Dope,
badass.
Yeah.
That is pretty dope.
That was awesome.
Russia, huh?
Russia.
So I want to start with Russia.
Moscovia.
It's the most interesting. Yeah, Zastarovia. I'm learning Russian also, so that's been fun.
It's one of the hardest. They say it's one of the hardest languages to learn.
No,
It
so
Here's my question, because we see the way that Trump is demonized in our country, and I'm starting to, and I feel this way about Putin to a point. I feel like what's being said about Bibi, about Benjamin Netanyahu, might be propaganda. I talked to a guy that's Israeli, lives in Israel, and we just started a conversation, and he's like, I go, is Netanyahu I think he's a flawed leader, and he's like, Netanyahu is treated the same way as Trump is, where it's a media bias that creates these negative things. Now, I don't need to fully believe that. But when it comes to Putin, I remember watching them talk about the Olympics and how he killed people because they didn't clean up and all these different things. And that was what I realized now 10 years ago was on like ESPN documentaries and like CBS and all these different things. How do the people there truly feel about Putin?
So I now have a lot of Russian friends, and most of them do not like Putin, but for one reason only. They do not like that he did change the laws to stay in power. So the biggest criticism they have of him is that, okay, you've changed our laws to stay in power and it's time to let somebody else come in. But as far as what he's done for the country, and I'm not trying to sit here and be pro-Putin, but there's so much propaganda about him. So the Soviet Union fell, and the 90s was horrible in Russia. The gangs took over. It was just a scary time for a lot of people. And Putin comes into power, and he's now been in power since 2000, I believe. I mean, I know they had, I think what's his name? Medvedev.
There was Gorbachev, and then there was, it started with an M. I can't remember who the in
Yeah, well, Gorbachev, you're going back in Soviet Union times.
Right.
Like, since 2000, they had, but Putin's really kind of always been in the leadership position. But since then, he's improved their infrastructure. I've talked to people all over Russia because the majority of the population's in Moscow and St. Petersburg. And, you know, there's the bigger cities. So the rest of Russia is a little bit kind of desolate. But I've talked to a lot of people, met a lot of people that live in these villages, and they love Putin. The people, once you get outside the big cities, they love Putin because what he's done for them is he's kind of just really he's a nationalist, and he's focused on improving the economy, improving the infrastructure, not just in the main cities, but all over Russia. So I talked to this one girl, and she lived in Yekaterinburg, which is kind of like it's a city, but it's smaller. And she said, you know, we didn't even have a car in the 90s, and now everybody here has their own house. We have 2 vehicles. You know, everybody really appreciates, number one, the infrastructure, and number 2, the healthcare system that he's done. They do have a centrally planned government. They're not communist. And I hate that. I hate coming back here, people saying, well, they're communists, they hate us. Wrong. They love us. They would love to be our friends. And they haven't been communist in over 30 years. These are the people that kicked out the communists. And
so do you think that, so this is the big question, because everything you're saying sounds like he's Trump-like. So the question is, are people truly afraid of, can people freely speak out against the government?
Yeah. I mean, I don't know what it's going to be like if you're getting on social media and like planning a rally, but I go in Moscow, sit down at dinner with my friends, and we're just completely talking politics. They feel free to speak. No one has ever felt like, oh, you can't say that, you can't do that here. You know, my Russian teacher, actually, she's quite outspoken. And sometimes they call like Putin like crazy grandpa, and she'll be like, oh, that crazy grandpa, they don't care about us, and you know, they'll get in these wars, and Putin, he's too old, and this and that. I mean, I've never they do have free speech. It's not the level that we have here, but no one's afraid to say what they think, in my experience.
Do you find that weird, Casey?
No, not at all. I'm not surprised by it.
We hear
all the Russians I know are cool,
different.
bro.
Right.
No,
Everything that go look at what Putin's actions and what he's done in that country. He's doing things that we want done, especially the LGBT community. He is trying to get rid of a lot of the stuff that is being pushed here, the woke stuff. He has been fighting against that.
But they have gay rights there, don't they?
Yes, they do. Like, again, you hear, oh, it's illegal to be gay there. I walk down the street in Moscow, I see like gay couples everywhere. I mean, it's not illegal. St. Petersburg's almost like very like California vibe, maybe in like the 80s and 90s, kind of like a little more artistic, you know, kind of, I personally don't love it, but it's, you know, like kind of more punk style.
Yeah.
So, and I mean, you can be gay there. There was actually a really good interview, which of course never gets shown, of Putin. The translation's hard because they try to translate to English, and some sayings don't really, but basically what he was saying is gay people deserve equal rights. They don't deserve to be put on a pedestal. And that's so that's their thing. They don't.
That's what I say all the time. There's a difference between accepting people and celebration. It's very simple.
Yeah. And they don't want transgender kids. That's a big thing that they show. And people want to call Russia Today Russian media propaganda. But the way they report on the U.S. is completely accurate. I mean, they just take our news articles and go, oh, look what they're doing here. They have, you know, drag queen shows for children. And it's like, that's not propaganda. That's literally what's happening. I mean, they're just sharing our news articles. So they do not want that because they've seen what's happened to Europe, and they don't want to destroy their country. Like I've been in Europe. I think Europe's gone. I don't know if they'll ever get it back. I've met people who have left Europe to go to Russia so they could earn more money and just not have to deal with what's going on there. But I mean, Putin.
Europe's dying now.
Yeah. Europe. I think Europe's gone. I think Europe's lost, unfortunately.
You know what's crazy? If you think about it, right? Palestinians now have a place to go.
Where's that?
Europe. They've taken it. There's flags everywhere. I've seen it.
I think it's, I don't know. I think it's really interesting to hear somebody talk about Russia, because it all of a sudden it dawned on me, like, when did I start hating Putin? And it really was when they started talking about When did they have the Olympics in Russia? What was it, Sochi?
2016, 2015 or something like that.
It was before then.
It was 2014. They had Olympics and they had the World Cup in Moscow in 2018, I believe.
I just remember all of the what I would now consider potential propaganda. I remember seeing how like there was the news reporter that was like followed by the police there, and he wasn't allowed to say certain things, and it was mainstream media, and I don't know if I believe any of that.
You shouldn't.
Well, and you know, with the I'm forgetting his name, but he was the reporter that just recently got released in that deal. Deal. You know, I am all for media freedom, but I mean, Russia does have rules. They say do not report on our military. So it's like, for me, it's like the Brittany Griner deal. It's like, if you're in a country, you do need to respect their laws. And, you know, he came there and he was doing things that are illegal there. So, I mean,
I think the difference is one was a journalist, like, and I think that I get it, but like, I don't think Brittany should have been the first one released.
No.
I mean, like,
Whelan or Marine, yeah.
She had drugs. He was doing what was his job, but he went over the line, kind of. Yeah. I mean, she literally had illegal substances. Like, to me,
it was weed.
No, it was hash. It was hash oil.
It doesn't matter. The part is, when we look at the circumstances, Paul Whelan should have been out way before Brittany Griner.
Right.
Evan Gersovich, however you say his name, should have been way out before Brittany Griner. We still have one more American sitting in their prisons right now, and I think it is another reporter that was in there before that we didn't get out. All of them should have been out before Brittany Griner.
And here's the thing: now Putin knows that when he's negotiating with Biden or whomever he's negotiating with, he can get whatever he wants. Like,
I'm gonna go ahead and call it like Putin said. Putin said this. He said, "How dare Biden try to tell me what to do in my own country with prisoners when he has his own political prisoners in his nation's capital?" Talking about us. I was so proud. I say, go ahead, Vladimir. Do your thing, man. Do your thing.
The last Russian question I have is involving their opinion on the war in Ukraine. Mm-hmm. So do they talk about that on a daily? Is this like
all the time? Yeah.
So what are their beliefs on it? Because I know that there's the rumor. There's no audio of it, but it's been said by many people that Kamala was over there right before everything popped off and essentially said we need to accept Ukraine into NATO, which I understand the risk behind that. I think that there was steps done that led to this situation, and the military supposedly from Russia didn't know why they were doing these kind of war games leading into it. This is the beginning of me actually doing Fox radio stuff, was the Ukrainian conflict. So what are their actual opinions on what's happening in Ukraine and Russia with Russia?
So, I mean, really this whole Ukraine deal, it really goes back, I mean, to almost the 1990s. And I mean, Russia was promised time and time again that NATO would not move 1 inch eastward. They continued to add countries, you know. So when I think there's video of her actually saying the day before he invaded, Ukraine's going to come into NATO. I think there's a video of her saying that.
It was that week, and I have never been able to find that video, but I've heard how they keep. Hey, they can scrub pretty much anything at this point. So,
but isn't that the whole thing though? Isn't there a deal that they made? Like they can't never join NATO.
So it was a verbal agreement in
to be honored among men.
Right. It was a verbal agreement in the 90s. That's what they're saying, that the whole rule was if they tear down the wall and if they disarm their nuclear capabilities, the rule was from I think it was Gorbachev, that he would do these things if they promise. He goes, if you promise to never move an inch, whatever direction, east, and that was the rule. But everybody said that wasn't. Not everybody. The current media craze is saying it was more of a hyperbole and it was not actually ever written into law or anything like that. But that was the rule. That was what was said, and that was the deal.
And then even going back in more recent times, there were the Minsk Accords that were in 2014, I believe, that had in there Ukraine will not join NATO. And all of a sudden, when not us, when somebody overthrew the Ukrainian government, the president that was very pro-Russia, and installed our own government, or sorry, not ours, not us, installed a new government that was suddenly very anti-Russia, then all of a sudden Zelensky's like, oh, I'm not going to honor the Minsk Accords. And so really the reason the war started is Russia. So Ukraine was part of the Russian Empire, I mean, for most of their history. And I cannot remember, maybe it was Brezhnev or one of those Soviet leaders, when they started drawing the lines in the Soviet Union of territory, they just drew the lines in Ukraine, included Crimea, which in hindsight they shouldn't have done, but they did. And so when the Soviet Union fell and Ukraine was its own country, Russia needs a warm water port. That's their only warm water port.
Right.
And they had a lease on Crimea, and the port in Crimea, for 200 years. Well, when all of this started kind of heating up, and now Zelensky's saying he's not going to agree to the Minsk Accords, they started worrying we're not going to have our warm water port. And then 2022, I mean, of course, when Biden gets in, it looked like, I don't know if they did officially cancel the lease, but seems like they were going to cancel the lease. And so that's really kind of why Putin went in. Well, I mean, Crimea, they did take Crimea back, but they were going to continue this kind of very anti-Russia, pushing them out of the area. We don't want to do trade and this and that. So that's a little bit not there. I could go on and on about just that. But the way that people feel, the Russians don't even view the Ukrainians as different people. I mean, my teacher's half Ukrainian, half Russian. I mean, they're the same people. Mm-hmm. Everybody has a Ukrainian friend, family in Ukraine. So it's like they don't even view them as different people. They're like, we're all brothers and sisters. So really sad on that level, because no one's getting accurate numbers, but I think we're close to 250,000 dead on both sides, probably more. And it's like they're being sent to fight their brothers, and I mean, it's a really sad situation. So the Russians are not happy about it, but also the Russians, Russia's been invaded 3 times. Every single time it's been through Ukraine. So they need that secure for their own, nation's security. And so on the one hand, the Russians don't like that there was going to be missiles pointing at Moscow from Ukraine with a NATO base. And on the other hand, they hate that it's like a war with basically what they view as the same people.
What is their feelings on Zelensky?
Zelensky became famous as an actor. You can look this up. He's the piano with his dick on TV. He's like a comedic actor in Russia. So he made all of his money in Russia, and then they just put him in. I mean, I think the feeling in Russia is kind of like the feeling I have, like for Zelensky. He is just being completely manipulated and has been put in as a puppet and way over his head. And, now he's just kind of been backed into a corner, and the U.S. will eventually abandon him.
I think it's fascinating that he's getting all the, they're getting all this money, and like, they're not even hiding the fact that him and his wife are becoming filthy rich.
Oh, they're buying, they're all, not just him, the whole government's buying mansions in Egypt. And, I think the most expensive car is now owned by one of the Ukrainian, in Europe is now owned by one of the Ukrainian government officials. I mean, they're just completely just misusing all of the money, and the people aren't getting any of the money. I mean,
well, I got to ask you a question too, Emily, from Walz. Does Emily believe that the war in Ukraine would have happened if Trump was still president now?
Absolutely would not have happened.
Is that what they're saying out there? Like when you're having dinner and all that stuff, they don't think it would have happened? 100%
back. Russians love Trump. They want Trump back in office, and I think even Putin's, said that he's looking forward to having Trump in office so they can negotiate a peace deal, which there was a peace deal worked out in April of 2022, which somebody sent Boris Johnson to go and kill the peace deal, which, so, I mean, now we're at 500,000 people dead.
The left doesn't believe that was a real thing, but yeah. it's a well-known discussion. And again, this isn't like a documented situation, but everybody that is a part of that inner circle that is willing to speak has said there was something on the table. Donbass region would go to Russia. And that is all that Russia wanted, because apparently it sounds like, and you could tell me if this is accurate, that the Russians in the Donbass, the Russians and Ukrainians, if they were pro-Russia in that area, were being treated incredibly poorly. Yeah. And so that was kind of the deal they were willing to work out, which was also kind of part of the Minsk agreement. Give us back Donbass, because I think there's also a port there as well. Yeah. And they wanted, he goes, at this point, give me back Donbass, we'll sign it off and it's over. And Boris Johnson blew that up.
Well, and it was keep Crimea, which they've already, so they took Crimea under Obama, nothing under Trump, and now they've taken Ukraine under Biden. So, I mean, the war would have never happened. And because Trump wouldn't have been pushing, let's get Ukraine into NATO, let's get Ukraine in. And also it's important to add, they're trying to get Georgia into NATO and have Georgia become part of the EU, which it's not in Europe. So I don't even know at this point. But they're trying to get Georgia in NATO. So now they're going to be completely surrounded. And I mean, so the Donbass region, I believe it was a CNN poll. They went and told the people on the streets there, 90% said, we're Russian, we want to be part of Russia. And when the war started, the people in that region picked up their guns and started fighting with the Russians against the Ukrainians. So they want to be, they consider themselves ethnic Russians. They want to be part of Russia. So
2 final questions about Russia. Because again, like part of it's about and I think we're under once. I mean, people say that we have free media here, free speech media, but in all reality, I feel like we're under state-sponsored media. Because again, this is stuff that we don't hear. So when you watch the news there, you said the news there is relatively accurate about the United States. What is it? Do you think that the media is controlled by Putin to the point where they don't have really fair media there?
I mean, definitely it is very state controlled media, but the people there, I mean, they use Telegram. Telegram's huge. So they use Telegram. Facebook and Instagram have ceased their operations there. Russia didn't block them. Facebook and Instagram decided we're going to block all Russians. So, but
they don't want the truth to get out.
Yeah. They use
I think it's bullshit, by the way, that Russian athletes aren't allowed to compete in the Olympics. I think that's ridiculous, in my opinion. Ukraine, good. Russia, not.
And it's like all these companies that virtue signaled, like McDonald's, we're going to leave the market. I tell you, Burger King didn't leave, KFC didn't leave. They were making bank, and they were smart. So they stayed. Actually, McDonald's, they sold all of their locations, and it's called Vkusnaya Tochki, which is like a tasty to a point. But they have a lease that says McDonald's can go and buy all of their stuff back is whenever. So
it's like June for the gay pride, the gay pride flags, like the companies. Yeah. Last question. This one's a little QE, and if you guys have another one, go for it. But I've often wondered what the discussion is over there on this as well. The whole conversation about Putin and shutting down the labs on the border, the bio labs and bioweapons. Does anybody actually believe that there?
So I actually think there is confirmation. We did have biolabs there. I think, was it Victoria Newland confirmed that?
Boom.
We have biolabs there. There's some really weird stuff that's going on at these labs. One of these ladies wrote a book, which I don't know, maybe she's lying, but she wrote a book about, it was one of like a fashion designer in Canada. And what he was doing is he was impregnating these women. They go to Ukraine, have an abortion and use the stem cells. This is what this lady claimed in the book. I don't know. I do know there's biolabs there confirmed by Victoria Newland, who's an evil, evil lady. And she's
Victoria Newland again. What is her role?
What was she? She was the not Secretary of State. Was she Secretary of State? No. What was she? She was in some form of the foreign affairs and high up, I think, in Bush's admin.
She's a diplomat, served under the Secretary of State of Political Affairs 21 to 2022.
Oh, she's more recent than I thought.
Former member of the U.S. Foreign Service. She served as Assistant Secretary of the State for European and Eurasian Affairs from 2013 to 2017. And the 18th U.S. ambassador. She was the U.S. ambassador to NATO from 2005 to 2008.
Okay,
so,
yeah.
So she would know about stuff like that. So she's actually commented that there was biolabs there.
To my knowledge, has confirmed that. I don't know where the article, but I'm 99% sure she's confirmed that. So I don't think that was the reason. I really don't think that played a part of why Putin would have gone in. I don't really think Putin super cares about the biolabs. I mean, it doesn't really affect them. But Lindsey Graham, I don't know if you guys have seen this video where Lindsey Graham comes out and he's like, Ukraine's sitting on 10 to 12 trillion dollars worth of minerals, and we can't let Russia and share those with China. They could be the richest country in Europe. They could be our best friends. So it's like they don't give a shit about the Ukrainian people. They want their resources, and that's why we're there.
And that's the reason why Boris Johnson blew up the deal ultimately. And they want, and the war machine has to continue. It continues for everyone.
Yeah.
It's interesting shit.
And the Nord Stream pipeline too. Oh, Russia blew up their own pipeline. No, they didn't. Anybody with a fucking, sorry, I shouldn't cuss. Anybody with a little ounce of sense would say, why would Russia blow up their own pipeline?
Facts.
Yeah. Any other questions about Russia? I feel like we're probably not even going to get much to the Elon thing. Because is there any other countries we want to hear about? Because I want to hear what other people think of it. But if there are any more, I think Russia's an important one. We could always have Emily back.
Do they wear the really cool hats and coats?
Oh yeah, they wear the fur coats because it's
I want one
in there. I have two now, and I got the hat too. They drink vodka. I ate bear while I was there. They ate a lot of caviar. I mean, a lot of it is the stereotype kind of holds true.
How tall are you, Emily?
I'm 5'2".
Oh, never mind.
Not gonna be able to wear the jacket, Cash. Sorry, the hat
You
might.
He only has to hem like 2 inches, right?
Hey, you're not that tall, bro. We're almost the same height, dog.
I'm still taller than you.
What are you, like 5'9"?
Casey's taller than you?
Just barely.
I don't think so. I really honestly don't think so.
Either.
I'm 5'8". You're like 5'7" and some change.
Whatever. I remember, but
yeah, I remember too. You didn't look tall at all, bro. You was like
I'm
right
not
there
saying
at eye
I'm
level
tall.
with me. You was at eye level with me. You can't make short jokes, Casey. It doesn't work.
I can make short jokes to anybody that's shorter than me. So
you're not taller than me, Casey.
Emily, the funny story, the first time I met Cash in person, his kids, like I was driving through, we had just been talking on the internet for like a month, and his kids come out from the house and they see me hop out of my car and they're like, whoa, Dad, he's huge.
Yeah. I didn't even know you was that tall when you got out. I said, who the hell is this slender man coming up right now, boy? Freaked me out a little bit. I've never seen somebody that tall in person.
I'm only 6'2". Okay. Well, I know you're going to dinner in 15 minutes, so we got.
It's late. It's okay.
So I want to ask. So I know that you and I started talking more in the last couple of months because a lot of the people you were meeting in different parts of the world did not share the Russian view of Trump and America. So what are some of the other places? I just saw this comment by Walz. That's funny. I agree. I think Lindsey Graham's
all politicians should be.
Some garbage. Okay, so what were some of the places where people just hated America and hated Trump?
Honestly, the most animosity I felt is in Europe. And a lot of the people that I would have met, honestly, a lot of the most unpleasant people I've met have been Americans. And I've spent a lot of time with Democrats. And I'm like, I don't want to talk about politics. If they ask me, I used to be a little more reserved about it. But at this point, I got asked in Tokyo. It was a bunch of Americans. It was like 2 lesbians, a gay guy, this girl from New York, me, and this British guy. Well, the British guy knows Americans, so he wanted to start a fight. So he's like, who are you guys voting for? And I'm like, Trump. I'm voting for Trump. And at that point, because I feel like I get to meet people, they see me, they like me. And then I hit them with, oh, I'm a Trump voter. It kind of
hate you.
Perspective. Well, it could change their perspective. Like, wait a second, we like this girl. We've spent time with her. Now we learned she is a gun owner. She loves Trump. She's a conservative. Maybe they're not all as evil as we think. So really, once I've shared that, I've never really had a bad experience after that. I met some Australians that I did not care for. We were going on a tour together. They jumped in. This is right at the assassination attempt. It was 6:45 in the morning. And the lady starts going, oh gosh, too bad they missed. And I was just not having it. I turned around and I said, that's a very nasty thing to say. She was a little taken aback. So then the husband starts going, and I'm sorry, I'm not going to try and be mean to Australia, but the husband starts going, well, Trump was really bad for us because he didn't give enough credit to our armed forces. I don't even know what that meant. what I wanted to say, I didn't. I chose kindness that day. What I wanted to say is, number one, maybe your armed forces should be more notable if they want credit. Number two, I wanted to say, didn't you guys put people in camps during COVID? Didn't you guys rip an entire generation of Aborigine children from their parents? Maybe the reason your country's a complete disaster is the way you guys vote at the ballot box and not what Trump is saying about your armed forces. But they were like boomers, like white, of course, overweight white people living in Sydney. And they're just like, we hate Trump. We want Trump dead, you know? And I didn't say any of those things. I just said, well, I support Trump. And I think it's probably better if you just focus on the politics in your own country. And
I'm like, why don't you stick to fucking hunting My bad, I didn't mean to cuss. Why don't you stick to freaking hunting kangaroos and leave American politics?
No. Stick to breakdancing. That's what I would do if I was Australia.
The thing is about Australia and New Zealand. I work very heavily at my old work and still my current work in the Asia Pacific region. And there's a very large propaganda campaign that runs in New Zealand and Australia against America because Australia is a good strategic point for Americans to be put at if there was ever a world war again. That is the biggest nation closest to China that we actually have good relationships with. India is always hit or miss. So that is why there is such a pressure on Australia and New Zealand, and why they were one of the first countries more recent countries that just gave up their guns. Most of the other countries are not doing that anymore.
And
so that area is interesting.
Because most of them, every single Australian besides them that I've met is awesome. They love Trump. They're very conservative. And the Australian Armed Forces, they did help in World War II. They sent about 1 million soldiers. So I don't want to, diss them, give credit where credit's due. But this idea of these Australians just wanting Trump dead because they didn't like something he said. But to me, it's like, these are the people that sit and turn on the TV and listen to anything the TV tells them.
You have that in America. Yeah. You have that all over Twitter on July 13th.
I feel like Australia and Canada are very similar in this sense, where it's like you are either far right or far left.
Yes.
Like there's no, I don't think there's a ton of moderates based on what I've seen, especially Canada. Canada's like, they've taken our freedoms. I fucking hate this place. Yeah. Or the other ones are like, do what you're told. I feel like Australia is very similar in that sense.
I got a lot of Australians that follow me, bro, and they all seem dope.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Because
that's amazing. Yeah.
Because the freedom-loving Australians, like, they were the ones that were up in arms during COVID about what was happening there. And also, there's some places, from what I understand, were kind of just the same as the United States, the same as Canada, where some places you had governance where people were like, let's not be overly reactionary about certain stuff. And I think that was part of it.
Emily, what area of Australia did you go to?
So actually, I've not been to Australia yet.
Okay.
No.
She was with Australia.
Oh, you were with Australians. Okay.
Yeah. I'm saving the countries for later. I'm just trying to get all the hard ones out of the way. So this whole summer I spent in East Asia. Russia was my favorite country I visited. Japan's now taken the number one spot. But East Asia, amazing, super safe, the culture, the most polite, kind people I've ever met in my life. China's communist and very state-run, so I mean, that's why it's so safe there. But like Taiwan, South Korea, Japan, amazing. I will just say this, anybody can misinterpret my words however you want. Super safe, I travel alone, lowest immigration rates in the world.
Which place?
So if you look it up, China, South Korea, Japan are all tied for the lowest immigration rates. I think it's like 2%. And you go, and it's a very homogenous culture, which I mean, I'm a daughter of immigrants, so I'm not saying immigration's bad, but they've kept so much of their culture that there's still a respect. There's an emphasis on family, relationships, pride in your country. And I mean, people don't commit crimes there. And there's not like I go to the Middle East. I felt safe in the Middle East, but they kill you if you commit a crime. I mean, they don't have that kind of like hammer over your head in East Asia. It's just this strong emphasis on the culture and family and respect. And it was an amazing place. I loved the people there.
Where did you go in Japan?
So I went to Osaka. I went to Hiroshima, which I could talk a lot about Hiroshima. Kyoto, Nara, Kobe, Tokyo, Mount Fuji. I was there about 2.5 weeks. Yeah,
They talked a lot about Hiroshima. Well, they talked a little bit about Hiroshima on the Elon Musk situation. He talked on the show last night. He talked a little bit about how that area has rebuilt and is flourishing. Is that an accurate statement?
Absolutely. I mean, the city itself has rebuilt. It's beautiful. I'll try and say this without like tearing up, because their museum there was just one of the most. It was probably one of the hardest days I've had traveling. The concentration camps. I went to Dachau. That was another really tough day. But Hiroshima, they focused on the victims there and just kind of explained what happened. But what was so impactful for me about being there was there's no sense of animosity. They don't hate Americans. They love Americans. They're so kind. It's like this they keep saying it. We forgive. We've healed from this. We don't want any other place to suffer like we did. No more Hiroshimas. No more atomic weapons. Forgiveness. Move forward. Please, no one ever do this again.
It's fascinating.
That's dope.
It was really just like I mean, that's why I just love the culture so much. The ability to forgive. I mean, people are still suffering with the effects of what happened there. And I mean, you see it's children had their skin melted off their bodies. I mean, it was the most horrific thing you could imagine. And they chose to forgive and love Americans, love everybody. Just they're trying to promote peace in the world. And it was really impressive.
See, and I heard the same thing about, I think it's Vietnam that has a museum from the Vietnam War. And I have a whole different respect of Americans today in that museum and what they present than what you would think.
And that was another place I went. I went to Vietnam and I went in the tunnels. I met, people that fought in that war. And before I went there, I was told by some Americans, don't tell them we're from America. They hate us. They hate us. Not the experience at all.
True.
I was sitting down at a bar and this man came up. He was 90 years old, so he lived through it. He came up, sat down next to me, wanted to take pictures, wanted to just sit and talk and be with these Americans. I mean, there's no feelings of animosity there. I mean, they're communist. So it's, but they're kind of trying to move to capitalism. But again, it was just very like, no grudges. It's in the past. We forgive. We're not going to hold your government's actions against the people. I mean, a lot of people could really learn some lessons from the Asian countries in forgiveness.
It's interesting. So is it the Vietnamese that hate Joe Biden?
I have not heard. Okay, so all the countries I've been to, I've not heard anybody ever say anything positive about Joe Biden.
Because I'm trying to remember, there's a group, and I can't remember if it was Vietnamese. There was an Asian nation. It was part of the Henry Kissinger group who got carpet bombed. What was that?
Cambodia?
No, it was Cambodia. There was a group, but I think it's Vietnamese, that cannot stand Joe Biden because during 1971, he was one of the pioneers, early 70s, he was one of the pioneers of not saving them. He didn't want to sign the bill to go in. I can't remember what Asian. I think it was Vietnamese. I cannot remember though. But I don't want to speak in confirmation. But there's an Asian group there that's like, and in America, that population will refuse to vote for Joe Biden as like a 90+%.
No one likes 34 countries. Everybody, they come up to me. Why did you elect this guy? I mean, Italy's running skits about him. They did a really funny skit about him just like getting lost. And I don't know if you guys have seen that. Everybody's like, how did you vote in this man with very clear dementia? I mean, it's shocking. It is shocking.
We didn't.
For them. Yeah.
We didn't vote him in. I'll stand by. It's like, that's the tough one. They always try to get the gotcha moments for somebody like a JD Vance or whomever. That's like, do you believe the election was stolen? I don't have to talk about Dominion machines to talk about the fact that the election was stolen. You can call me a crazy right winger, but you can start it all the way at the misinformation level. You could talk about the hiding of information when it comes to Hunter Biden's laptop, all the way to the fact that they still can't explain 2,000 mules. Agreed, Elena.
All I'm going to say is Georgia just came out with an apology. Did y'all see that?
That was
a couple weeks ago.
My aunt,
it was great still.
Yeah.
My aunt she lives in Marietta, Georgia, and she has spent the last couple of years working on a committee that was investigating election fraud. They found just in her county, there were hundreds of ballots sent to not real addresses. So they were sent to parking lots. This is, I mean, she actually just spoke at a board meeting last week talking about this. And so they found all these ballots sent to addresses that didn't exist. They were all filled out. Let you guess how they were filled out. And so she and her committee kind of rallied and have gotten their county to kind of crack down and do kind of a verification on the addresses before they send the ballots out, just trying to get election security. So if there were hundreds of ballots just in her county and they have the proof, I kind of have to imagine.
Pretty easy to come up with that 17,000 that Trump was asking to find, which he's not.
And that's just well, and then Pennsylvania just came out yesterday saying we might not have all of our results on election night.
Right.
It's already setting it up. The whole thing. I mean, it really, like, people wonder why I'm not going to believe if Trump loses. I'm not going to believe it unless something comes. Unless in October, the October surprise is a video of Trump dropping the N-bomb 75 times, and 3 women have DNA come out that he RAPED'd them. Like there is no October surprise that's going to make me believe that Kamala is winning the election. I can't. I'm sorry.
If India can count all of their votes in one day, why can't we?
They don't even have running water in half the country, for God's sakes.
I'm going to India in October, so that'll.
Are you? Where at? Where?
It's going to be about like a 3-week trip. So we're going to go, of course, like New Delhi, Mumbai.
Okay.
Some other place at Jaipur. I'm mispronouncing everything. Jaipur. The really long name. I'm sorry.
Okay.
If you get the chance, go and visit the Sikh temple on a Sunday.
Okay.
I watched it on Bizarre Foods. That's why I'm saying this.
Okay.
I'm serious. At this temple, I want to go and visit it one day, bro. It's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. All the different people from everywhere go to that temple and they make food all together. Everybody. They all make the food together in this big old vat. And then they all sit down and they pray. Well, they don't ask you what religion you are. You just pray, in your own way. But everybody prays. And then you eat food with everybody together.
I will not be. I'll check it out. I will not be eating their food. Everyone I met that's gone to India has gotten violent food poisoning. I've had Indian food once, violent food poisoning. Will not be eating their food, but I love
Indian food.
I do too.
Indian food is one of my favorites.
Well, I'm Pakistani, so it's in my blood to just be against Indian food.
And India apparently they've always loved Trump, from what I understand. Taiwan. Does Taiwan feel, when you were there, do they feel like they're at risk at all times?
Oh, for sure. And it's not a matter of if, but when China will invade. China wants them back. I just learned this in Taiwan. I didn't know this. So World War II happens. Japan had control of Taiwan. We didn't want Japan to have control of Taiwan. So when we won, we gave Taiwan to a Chinese dictator. So
when are we talking? What's the era?
Right after World War II. So
okay.
In 1949 or 47, we, with the backing of the U.S. military, put in a dictator from China. So he was communist. He was terrible for the people. He banned them speaking the Taiwanese language. So all of the youth, everybody there speaks Mandarin. It's only the older generation still speaks Taiwanese. They're trying to get back to that, but it was basically illegal to speak Taiwanese. So we basically were like, come in, China, come take Taiwan. And then now we kind of shit the bed, because now we're like, wait a second, now we don't want, China to have Taiwan. So I've heard 2028. I don't have any proof of that. That's just what I've been hearing from a lot of people. 2028 is when they would launch an invasion. I wouldn't be surprised if something doesn't pop off like in the next few months. I don't want it to.
If Kamala becomes president, are they pretty much, Kamala or Joe, you were there when it was going to be Joe Biden. Do they think that anything is the linchpin of if Trump is in, would it be harder? Do they think that would be harder for the invasion?
If Trump's in, they won't take it. I think that's why they were saying 2028 is because they're expecting a Trump victory. And so they were just planning 2028. Again, I don't have any proof of this. This is just what I've been hearing of the 2028 kind of deadline date. But if Kamala gets in, if Joe gets in, they could even try and do it now, knowing that it's
we have no president right now. So why? I mean,
but everybody says it's okay. We just got to survive 6 months.
Do you know why it won't happen now? Now that I say that, it won't happen now because if it does, it will ensure a Trump victory.
Correct.
in November. So that's why I feel like they're safe, because
Good
they know
point.
that will send us over the edge and the independents over the edge.
Well,
Last question, and again, we didn't even get into much. Well, I would love to have you back.
gladly.
So, Cash, Casey, do you have any? Before I ask the one final question about the Elon, the Elon Trump interview, do you guys have anything else for Emily?
I mean, you said Elon.
I see what you did, Cash. You're gonna get Casey mad. You're gonna get Casey mad. Casey, look, let me really quick state this about that interview was incredibly important. It was very important for people to see these two people have a conversation. One that was pretty much one of the most powerful businessmen in the world with Elon Musk, having a conversation, a long format chit chat with Donald Trump. I think that was a very important. It was an important moment in history. I do think the conversation was a little boring. Casey will hate us for saying that.
I loved it. I'm against you too. I loved it. I was like, I was listening to it again this morning.
Let's just downgrade the whole thing and just shit on a whole bunch of Americans that love it and just say, oh yeah,
we're not doing that.
I'm not shitting on it. I'm just saying it was not the most exciting 2 hours of my life.
Those are my two favorite men in the world. And I was an Elon fan before it got popular. I was an Elon fan in going back to 2018, and my mom's like, he smoked weed on Joe Rogan's podcast. He's crazy. And everyone's like, he's a liberal. And I'm like, I love him. He's a good guy. And now I, don't want to say
Emily and I were the only two people in all of Stephenville that had a Tesla.
I have one. I drive a Tesla, and I bought it for Elon.
Yeah.
I don't care about the environment. So, okay, no, I do. I care about the environment, but that's not why I bought it.
But they're a cool car. Do you have the 240 plug at your house?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
I have the charger put in. Because of the living quarter, I was able to just run it off, and yeah.
I have an extra cord. I can't sell it. I don't know what to do with it. Anyways, Cash, what do you got? You're about to say something. I see.
Very nice. Nope, I'm not. Very nice to meet you, Emily. You're dope.
Very nice to meet you both. I'd be happy to come back on whenever you guys have free. I love just talking. I could kept going on about Russia. Again, okay, I should say this. They do kill people in Russia. People fall out of buildings. Putin shot down what's-his-face's jet. It's not like it's a great. They've got their issues. They're not really a true democracy. They've got their problems, but
we had Trump shot at, and I think all of us do believe that it was probably somebody in our own government doing it.
It does appear that way.
It had some influence, not necessarily them doing it, but influence in it. Yes.
I just want to throw out there real quick. I think Putin, though, may seem cool. I think he's a giant scumbag, simply because he's a politician. As far as I'm concerned, he's like the rest of them, especially with what he's doing with his people. Like you're putting all these people through war, and yeah, do you see what's happening in Moscow? Like they're running away now. They're retreating. And Ukraine's going over there and tearing that.
I heard Ukraine might be invading.
If you know history, that's the Russian playbook. They retreat to Moscow. They did it with Napoleon. They did it with Hitler. They retreat to Moscow, and no one can take Moscow, and they will demolish them once they get them on their territory. They're smart.
Yeah, but it sucks though. That's my whole point. Is it sucks? You got people that are, like you say, brothers. They're brothers. Yeah. They're just divided by an imaginary line, fighting in a war that is literally pointless. It's a pointless, meaningless war.
Yeah, it's a proxy war, and it's we're the reason they're fighting, really, us in the West. And I should say, this whole thing about, Ukraine's now just going on the offensive of Russia, that's not true. They have been striking inside of Russia. They're striking civilians. They're striking apartment buildings. My flight got grounded on the way to Moscow in St. Petersburg because there were drone strikes in Moscow. And this was last summer. So they've been striking in Russia. The only difference is now they're using our weapons. So
yeah, we gotta keep you, Emily. You're with us now.
You've been adopted. Question for you: where can people follow you?
Instagram, Emily Mangione 23. I post my travel stuff, and I'll post some political stories. And I was starting to apply for jobs again, so I made it private, but I made it public because now I'm back. Like, I don't care if a job doesn't want to hire me because of my views. I'm not going to censor myself. I'll just find a job that will be happy to have me. So Instagram probably is the best for.
You're an Elon fan? Are you not on X?
I am on X. I'm trying to get used to it. I just never was into Twitter, and I'm just starting to use it. So yeah, it's Emily Mangione on X. I'm trying to get more into it.
Is it just Emily Mangione? No 23?
Yeah, no 23. It's Emily Mangione 23 on Instagram. Just Emily Mangione on X.
So I'm gonna tell you something. If you start posting, but what are you laughing at, Cash?
I just realized why no jobs called me back when I got out of prison. I just
Yeah,
realized
it's
why
like
not.
You
that.
just realized that?
Like social
It's not
media.
because you
And
were
then
a
I jumped
felon.
right back on it and instantly wearing the MAGA sweater talking
Oh,
on my
no,
political.
the minority card only goes so far. I've learned that when I get called a white supremacist. I'm like, I'm literally Middle Eastern. So
Emily, here's the deal. We've got I haven't seen him comment in a bit, but Walz is here. If you get into X and you start posting political content, there's a gentleman, anonymous libertarian, that loves sharing quality X profiles and will help you grow it. So
Yeah,
okay.
we'll take care
I'll
of it.
get to it because I have a lot to say. I usually just rant on my Instagram stories, but
X is.
maybe
I
I'll
mean,
start ranting
I
there.
love the crazy leftist media talking when they're previewing the Trump conversation with him, essentially being like, "Oh, how good is Elon really doing with X right now?" And like laughing at it. I'm like, they're charging subscriptions. It's all the bots. There's less bots than any other platform. I think it's doing pretty fucking good, you dipshits.
I mean, our president announced his resignation of the election on X, so I think it's not exactly done. I think July they had more visitations than Instagram and Facebook.
Correct.
Yeah. So I'm pretty sure they're doing all right. We didn't get much into news, but I think this was a great show. I think this was as quality as it gets. This is the least I had to hear that dipshit in the corner's voice talk, so that's good.
Whoa, Casey, shots fired. Boom, 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 boom.
I was talking about you. I was talking
No, you
about that
wasn't.
guy.
No, you wasn't. You're just being
See,
friendly
look
right now to
at
Casey
him.
because
He
you know he wants to
immediately just assumed you're talking about the white guy because you can get away with it.
I'm not.
I know
I'm
he
not
actually loves me. That's what it
I
is.
got to
He-
be delicate to Casey after him getting offended that we got a little snoozy last night.
You guys were just boring and lame.
God,
we
you
were
became
boring and lame? No, Elon was boring and
You
lame, which
became
is
a
what made us
Democrat
all
last night,
No.
Casey. You got in your
Uh-uh.
feelings.
He
You,
did,
I
bro.
was
He got a
waiting
little
for you to.
saucy.
I
Even
had
in
a
the
higher
live, he's like,
expectation
"Why
of
don't
you
you
guys
just leave?"
participating in the show. How about that?
I thought
Yeah,
you were
a
going to
little
wear a "I love Governor Walz" shirt. So, anyways, all right.
Yeah.
That's all we got for the evening. The one thing we didn't mention any of our brands. Emily, if you got to go, we're just going to really
Okay,
quick.
I'll hop off. But
Go.
thank you so much for having me. This was a lot of fun.
And we will have you on again to actually talk about current events. But that was like the update. That was a whole show on
This was
you.
an Emily
So
show.
that was great.
Yeah, this was literally an Emily show.
I have a lot to say, so
And you say it well. Like you're very. I mean, it's not just articulate. You get it all out, and you land the plane. You're great.
I practice ranting to my friends a lot, so got a lot of.
You should go on TikTok. You'll be a hit on TikTok.
You'd
Go
be
to
good on TikTok too. There's a lot. I mean,
I can't do TikTok. I have no TikTok.
You could do it. I believe
I
you.
have enough governments. Next time I'm on, we can talk about how the Russian government hacked my phone. That's a fun story.
Ooh.
Yeah.
To be continued.
To be continued.
All right, go enjoy your dinner.
All right, bye guys. Thank you.
Later, Emily.
Yeah.
All right. So we'll really quick go over the bread. That was riveting stuff right there. That was good. Cash. I mean, you were enjoying it. I could tell.
It was good. This was way better. I stood awake this whole show.
He's talking about last night. So Casey's gonna kill you.
I got to, man. I don't never see Casey flustered. This is kind of fun.
So
Like my whole thing that I was doing to keep you flustered, Russo. Now I'm doing it to Casey, and it's working. Like he's getting flushed in the face and everything.
Last night when we were saying goodbye to each other, we like made a joke and then we were like just kidding, and Casey just like rage quit on us. And Cash and I were like, did he just leave?
Yes,
he did. He rage quit.
Yes, I did. I did.
Say good night. Didn't even say good night. Nothing.
Absolutely
Usually,
not.
hey, just so everybody knows, everybody who's watching right now, before when we get off, like we stay on for a minute, and before I leave, I'm like, hey guys, I love you guys.
You guys just
I love you guys. I hope y'all have a good night, man. And then Casey, before I can even say bye to him or anything, he just fucking
out,
freaking boom, quit.
Yeah.
I'm like, whoa, he's really mad. I've never seen Casey mad.
If I wanted to do a show with people that just check out mid-show, I would ask Suni.
We weren't doing.
Bro, why you do that?
We weren't checking out because there was Did we not put on a show when it was over last night? There was nothing for us to do except for listen to the show. It's not like we had any job except to listen. And when I was listening, I was a little bit bored.
Whatever.
There's also stuff. Look at today. Like there's all these news articles about it, which I knew that this is what was going to happen. You had
everyone in the comments was saying it too. It wasn't like it was just us. Everybody in the comments was like,
not
"Oh my
everybody.
god,
Don't use absolutes. Don't use absolutes because there was a lot of people that liked it. But there was like USA Today, Trump rambles, slurs his way through the Elon Musk interview. Fox News.
Yeah, slurs their way. Did you actually see the stats that came out on that today?
No, I think
because of the microphone that he used.
I get it. The Musk-Trump X interview, a surprisingly dull meeting of two planet-sized egos. Like, I knew that's what was unless there was fireworks, I knew the leftist media was going to have issues with
I'll just do the next one. It's all good.
I didn't mind doing it. I didn't mind doing it, but I have the freedom of speech to say that could have been better.
Yeah, ain't nothing wrong with that. Ain't nothing wrong with that.
It's all good.
All right, let's do this and get the hell out of here because my dogs are whimpering outside, and I have to start making them dinner because we found a lump on June. So there's that.
Yes.
Go ahead, Cash.
I don't want to anymore. I'm mad. Now I'm mad. I'm about to rage quit.
Cash, don't do that. I knew he was going to do that. Did you do that, Casey? I was about to do the same thing.
I can't do it. Yeah, so Freedom Box Info, I hate you so much. FreedomBoxInfo.com. You guys go there if you want to battle against these woke corporations. Protest with your dollar. Everything American made, everything given to you by real Americans that's from this country. There's no outsourcing. It doesn't happen. Maybe like 1% or less than 1%, which is the mascara because, they want to be exotic. So it comes from Italy. It's for you ladies. I don't wear mascara. So everything for me is 100% American made. All right. So if you want to support American business and you want to, make a little money on the side, you could do that just by shopping there and telling other people that you shop there. So go there, help yourself, help America, and just help us, please.
Cash has got mouths to feed. It's like that one movie when P. Diddy was like, I got 4 black kids. You know how expensive it is to have 4 black kids and need new shoes and all that stuff. Cash doesn't even care about the new shoes. He's just trying to, in Biden's America, trying to feed his children, for God's sakes. Yeah. Am I right or am I right? CenturyH2O.com. As I drink my water. Cash, you had a water bottle today. Honestly, guys,
so clear, you can't even see it.
Say it again.
Water's so clear, you can't even see it.
Exactly. I've been working a lot with Nelson, the owner of the company, because we're doing some stuff for horse product. Actually, maybe that's what Emily and Kelly need to work together since, Emily can't, needs to be political, needs to get out there. But their product's great. It really is. It gets rid of all the nasty stuff, propylene glycol, forever chemicals, and it is legit. It's great water. I can't speak more highly about it. And it also adds things like oxygen, magnesium, key nutrients. It is a version of a living water. If people are asking, Kangen systems are like $5,000. This is $350. If you use Russo 10 to get 10% off, you get $35 off of it. You get 10% off. So make sure you check that out. All the gear, this Trump University shirt is something I got in Omaha a long time ago. But if you like the Awake Not Woke, Pure Blood, all the different shirts we have, go to awakenotwokestore.com. Use Truth for 20% off. We do have a Be the Change section, so a little bit of positivity. We got a whole bunch of stuff. Cash and I and Dawn and Casey, we got to talk about some of the different ideas we're having regarding that, maybe a non-political side, no matter how difficult that is. But make sure you check out our store. Support us at awakenotwokestore.com. Use Truth for 20% off. I forgot. Oh, yeah, Pilled. Even though we weren't on Pilled tonight, make sure you're following Cash on Pilled.
And I just want to say for all my liberal friends out there, we are going to be hosting our first clause meeting, and it's going to be this Friday at 2 a.m. Remember.
I love that shirt.
Are you going to meet at the Nike store?
No, we're going to this nice little barista.
My mom she asked me something earlier today because we were talking, there's a whole thing that blew up on her page with her just making a comment about the economy and people jumped on it and I got involved. And she's like, how do people argue when you take time to make such an articulate, logic-based factual statement. I said, here's what I've come to the conclusion, Cats and Coffee. Here's what I've come to the conclusion. It is a balancing act. So if somebody says something intelligent on the right, it's missing some facts and figures, but it's okay. The argument comes equal on the opposite side, which is it's like there's some facts and figures, but it's wrong right there. When you say something that is infallibly correct, factually based, 100% on the actual best way to fight against something like that, which is what they do, is come up with the dumbest, most mind-bogglingly stupid reason they can, because that actually mitigates the level of intelligence on the other side. So it's a mirror. It's a mirror of how far right and wrong things are. And that's what I've come to the conclusion. I'm like, how do you fight when something is incredibly stupid in response? You really can't, because there's nowhere to go with it. So that's the problem. So
I agree.
Anyways, anything else, Casey? You got any final words?
Let's hope that Don Samuels wins tonight, so Ilhan Omar does not win the primary.
Oh yeah, we have to talk about that real quick. Real quick. It's hilarious that she is claiming that it's Republicans that are voting, that the other woman tried to get Republicans to vote in the primary so she would be voted out. I think that's hilarious, as that's what was being done with Nikki Haley.
Don't go look in my comments, because it is happening.
What's happening?
I posted today is Vote Don Samuels Day. Go vote for him. And there's people in my comments saying they're Republican, but they voted on the left this time to get rid of her.
I don't give a shit. If I'm sick of them being the only ones that play this stupid fucking game. And honestly, I think even most Democrats, but unless I think that I'm just, how is it looking? Do we know?
Polls close in 40 minutes. We don't have any numbers yet.
God, I hope
she loses. I'll be watching it tonight. We will post it if she loses. I guarantee
the squad has 2 members that go down.
Yeah. Yes. That's what I'm hoping for.
All right. Take it easy, guys.
I think Ilhan should be just fine where she's at. She's done a fantastic job.
Ilhan.
You're only saying that because you're trying to get closer to AOC. I get it.
Ilhan.
I think she's doing a fantastic job in Minnesota.
Escala has some really great views. Fucking idiot. Anyways, Cash, take us home, please.
Unite. Don't fight. Be a street light, because only you can be the change you wish to see in the world. When you get too stressed out, you got to remember to pray, America, because without God, everything falls apart. Whoop, whoop. Mm-hmm. That was pretty cool. That was good.
Garbage human being.
No, you don't be a garbage human being.
No, you don't be a garbage.
You don't. Listen. I'm with claws. I'm not a garbage human being.
There's no laws with cat claws.
Hey, I just thought of. Well, I probably told you guys this before, but women that are going through like menopause, I was thinking like the mascot can be like a cat with metal paws.
Oh, Jesus.
Huh? That's pretty good, right?
I mean,
I think that's great. You guys just don't recognize my brilliance. I think that is actually a good idea. I'm going to draw it up and see how it goes.
Draw it up.
I'm going to do it. I'm going to draw it up. Metal paws. That's going to be the mascot for women with metal paws.
Why don't for menopause? Why don't there just be paws on a man? Menopause.
Nah, I'm good. I like my idea better because it came from my brain, not yours. So that being said,
so that's saying it's more dark humor, because
I see what you did there. You know what? I could go outside and cause an eclipse right now. Can you? Penis joke.
No, I thought it was a low